Well, happy week number 6 in human development. Okay, so this week we will be jumping into emerging adulthood. Before we go there, I want to kind of just wrap up last week. Week number 5, we talked about adolescence. And so you kind of saw in your reflection that I want you to talk about what it was like to your high school years for you. And then you'll also notice that I set up a new activity, which is the talk. And in that video, I kind of express or talk about why it's so important at this age of puberty and adolescence to be talking about sex and about your body and about your values around those topics. And so again, that activity, I opened it up last Thursday. It will be due this coming Thursday. So make sure that you're aware of that has been added to the module there for you. Last week, we also had a very interesting case study. So we had a case study, Dire Straits, about a transsexual of Virginia. And again, you were supposed to talk about that in your group and kind of digest that. And I hope that that whole case study maybe opened up your thinking a little bit, or just maybe brought some awareness to individuals that are transsexual and those of us that, are affirming them and supporting all of us to feel safe in our environment. So this week, again, we're moving on to emerging adulthood. This typically tends to be a really fun week because a lot of students are in this age group. And what we've done is we've taken adulthood in general, and we've broken it up into 3 groups. Emerging adulthood, 18 to 25. Then we'll talk about middle adulthood, 25 to 65. And then finally, we'll talk about late adulthood, 65 and over. So, that's what we're doing. So this emerging adulthood, we're kind of going to focus on some of the issues that we talked about last week, which are going to be your identity, figuring out who you are, right? Because who at 18, right? Overnight from the time we turn 18, we don't change. We don't all of a sudden discover or have this whole sense of self that wasn't there the night before. So that age group of 18 to 25 is really kind of a time to figure it out. Figure out what do you want to do as far as a career. 18 is a very young age for us to be able to say, I know I want to be a doctor. I know I want to be a nurse. I know this is what I want to do in life, right? And then times are changing. We're finding that a lot of us are doing several different careers throughout our lifetime. So emerging adulthood, again, in this different developmental stage, we're going to talk about Erickson's development of love. So this is going to be the time that we'll talk about relationships, because during this time is when we tend to really get into maybe having more permanent relationships than we did in high school. And so we'll talk about, love and relationship and maybe some healthy ways to have a good lasting bond with someone. And then again, we'll talk about some pitfalls to kind of the whole situation that couples maybe will fall into. For your activity this week, you are doing what we call the love language quiz. So Gary Chapman is a psychologist who came up with this whole understanding that all of us function in this environment of 5 love languages, and that we fall into at least one of these. And so he says that we all tend to have a certain way that we like to receive love from someone. Right? The different modes are going to be quality time. Some of us really like it if our partner books, every Saturday morning, Sunday morning, we go on hikes together, we do activities together. I love it when my partner gives me quality time. That speaks to me. Another one of the different ways that we can feel love is through gifts. Some people really do appreciate when you send roses or when you buy them gifts, right? When you give them things, it speaks love to them. Another different way that we can speak love is through words of affirmation. What this means is that some of us really maybe don't care so much about getting a gift as much as I want you to tell me you love me. I want you to tell me how happy you are in our relationship. I want to hear those words of affirmation, those words that make me feel good. Some of us really do like to hear those words, right? Some of us really like physical touch, right? And when I say physical touch, I'm not just referring to sex. I'm referring to we enjoy holding hands. We enjoy putting our arms around each other. We're very affectionate. And so for some people, maybe we don't need the spoken words, but physically touching each other tends to be something that is our love language, right? And we tend to see, if you look at the scores, men tend to appreciate physical touch more. And again, I'm not referring to just intimacy and sex. I'm just referring to the closeness that we might have with our partner. And the last of the 5 love languages is what we call acts of service. What this means is that instead of maybe some of the other different demonstrative ways of showing love, I do something for you. I do an act of service that you would normally do. And for that individual, that speaks love, right? So try to think of these 5 different areas, and you're going to go through a quiz, and the quiz is going to ask you some questions, and you need to answer honestly, and you need to pick the best answer, because sometimes you'll look at the 2 options and you'll say, I like both of those. I enjoy both of those. Yes, but you need to pick one. So which one of the 2 do you enjoy more, right? For myself personally, I actually really don't care about gifts. Roses die to me. I think it's a waste of money. That's me personally, right? Acts of service is my love language. What that means is that if you wash the dishes for me, I'm over the moon, right? That makes me happy, right? If you, take my car in for an oil change, one of those things I hate doing, that speaks love to me. And so I'm low maintenance when it comes to actually needing lots of maybe touch or words or gifts, but acts of service is my love language, right? For all of us, it's different though. Understand that the love language also pertains to your children. So think about your kids, right? I think about my children, all very different in personalities. And I can say that literally my children all have different love languages, right? My oldest daughter was definitely gifts. I didn't have to tell her I loved her. I didn't have to hold hands and hug on her. If I bought her something, if I went to a conference and came back home and I had a gift for her, she was over the moon. That was her love language, right? My youngest daughter, she was definitely going to be physical touch. She always wants to be near me, physically touching me, just always on top of me. That spoke to her. She cared about that, right? And then my middle child, my son, was all 5. High maintenance, middle child syndrome. And he really kind of responded to all the various ways that we can show love, right? And again, if you happen to be a parent who has multiple kids, you'll find a really good book to read. It's called The Birth Order by Kevin Leman. So Dr. Leman, in this book, he talks about why our firstborn acts the way they do. Typically, your firstborn is going to be a type A personality, very driven. Right? Why your baby of the family acts the way they do. And then what are the needs of that middle child? There's a reason that they're a little more laid back, right? And so that book helped me to understand my kids so much more. And so when you think about your love languages, you're going to see that your kids and your partners respond to a certain way. So let's say that my love language is acts of service. However, my partners, right, might be quality time. So what that means is that if I am doing acts of service for my partner, right, if I'm pulling out the trash or if I'm doing things that my partner would normally do, that's great. However, I'm really not speaking his love language. That's mine. And so what that means is I have to understand that I need to book time for my partner because quality time is their love language. It's not mine, but that is the way I'm going to tell them I love them. That's why it's so important that if you're in a relationship right now, that you maybe have your partner take this quiz also, because you'll find out more than likely the 2 of you have different love languages. And you're going to want to be aware of your partner's love language, but you're going to want to make them aware of yours also. Right? It's not that we can't be in relationships if our partner's not speaking our love language. What it means is that if we do speak each other's love language, it takes our relationship to a higher level. We're now speaking in the language that I like to hear. And isn't that what we want to do in our partnership, is please our partner, right? And so again, it's not that you can't be functioning, or not like some couples have said to me, oh my gosh, I've been married 15 years and I never knew this and I never did this. Well, it's not that your relationship was bad. It's just that if you start to implement the love languages now, it's actually going to take your relationship to a really kind of happier, healthier place for you both. So that's going to be our individual activity for the week. So you'll be engaging again in 2 activities. You'll be doing your love language quiz. And the way you're going to submit that quiz to me is basically, you don't have to send me the document, but you're just going to, in the text box, you're just going to notate for each of the 5 different love languages, what did you score? and which one was obviously the highest, which one is your love language. Sometimes we can have two that are very close. Maybe they're 1 point off. Well, okay, then you can kind of say you have two high scoring love languages. And then, like, how did you process this? Did that make sense to you when you found out that, oh, my love language is words of affirmation? I really like those words, right? Did that speak to you? You said, oh yeah, I can totally see that about myself. However, what's your partner's, and how can you implement this into your current relationship? Or if you're not in a partnership right now, your future relationships, right? These are good things that help our relationships stay strong, because we need that. We're going to see there are some different pitfalls that we may fall into when we talk about relationships, especially those who have been in long-term relationships. And we need to kind of combat those as much as possible. So this is going to be a fun week. You'll also have exam number 3. So what you will find is in the next few days, I will be releasing a study session for exam number 3. So you'll find a video where I'm going to go through your study guide with you and make sure that you have the right information. I typically want to wait a few days to release that, because I want you to go through the slides yourself, and I want you to go through our learning material online yourself, and I want you to fill in your study guide. And then when you go through and you watch the video, it kind of is reaffirming that information. And again, the more often we hear things, the more often we see things, it helps to put it into our long-term memory and to store that for the exam. So again, this week we have our love language quiz. You'll have the sex talk assignment that you'll be submitting by Thursday. You'll have your weekly reflection, and then you will have exam number 3. As I said before, example paper 3 is already posted there for you, so you might be working on that and thinking about what you would like to have for your end-of-life celebration, memorial, whatever it might be. Again, please reach out if you have any questions, any comments. It's getting close towards, we're getting towards the end of the summer session, and I'm going to hopefully get some feedback from you on whether or not you appreciated the videos, the weekly announcement videos, or the study session videos, or even the video that I did where my voice was kind of dubbed over the PowerPoint slides, if that was helpful. I'm always trying to improve this class. So looking forward to another fun week of learning more about you and me, and about healthy relationships and how we can foster that in our emerging adulthood stage. All right, have a great week, guys.